everybody. We are going to have a science lesson with friends at our house. So this is Conifer. Let's see if we can keep her here. She is wearing her favorite outfit. We made this for Halloween many, many years ago. She has a superhero cape. She's super Conifer. And so I thought I would start by reading you a poem for Poetry Month about trees. This is by Wendell Berry. It's very short. And it goes like this. Planting trees in early spring, we make a place for birds to sing in time to come. How do we know? They are singing here now. There is no other guarantee that singing will ever be. So we do have a favorite kind of tree in our house. Guess what it is?
Conifer.
The conifer. Yeah, it's the conifer. There's two basic kinds of trees. There are deciduous trees and evergreen trees. And the conifers are mostly evergreen trees. There are some deciduous trees that are conifer trees. Conifers that comes from Latin and Greek roots. Conus means cones, and fer means to bear. So they're cone-bearing trees. And they are from the Pinophyta genus, right?
Genus.
Yep, they're vascular land plants. They all have woody stems. Some are trees and some are shrubs. And they are gymnosperms, which means they all have seeds. And they all have cones. That's what makes them conifers. They're about 600 living species. They're super, super ancient. There are fossils going to 300 million years ago in the Paleozoic era. And they have lots of records. The tallest tree, the coastal redwood, is about 115 meters tall. That's like a football field tall. So if you run down the football field, you'll be running as tall as the tallest. The largest by volume, that's kind of like if you think about the fattest tree, is the giant sequoia. That's the General Sherman one. They also have the biggest pine cones, I think. They do. The shortest is the pygmy pine. They only grow to be about a meter high, tops. That's it. And the oldest is the barren pine, and that's about 4,700 years old. So they are also the oldest trees. You are very cute. They're maybe the cutest trees too. Look, see for yourself. They include junipers, firs, cypresses, figs, cedars, hemlocks, pines, yews, spruces, redwoods, and larches. And the larches are deciduous conifers. They lose their leaves in the fall and grow them back in the spring. We have those around here too. They don't freeze in winter. They change their chemistry, and their trunks get super hard. They are the largest terrestrial carbon sink. That means they store carbon, so they're really important for the environment, and they're the dominant species in the northern hemisphere in the forest. And I brought along, this guy's been hanging around my house. Hi, Granite. This guy's been hanging around my house, not just Granite, but this guy, the science guy.
Hi, boys and girls.
He's been hanging around my house, and I thought maybe he could do some guest star science for the library. And Conifer thought maybe, no, don't eat those. Conifer thought maybe he could too, because he's got all his science stuff here. And I thought it would be fun to talk about conifers, not just our dog. So I will turn it over to him.
So, boys and girls, as we're spending all this time at home, one of the things you can do is you can go out into your yard and look around your neighborhood and see what kind of evergreen trees there are. You can tell evergreen trees because they mostly have needles. Right? Needles are a special kind of leaf. Behind me is what tree is this?
Deciduous.
It is a deciduous. But what specific kind of tree?
I was told that it was a fig, but it's an ornamental kind of fig.
An ornamental.
And I think it's a fakey fig. I don't really know.
Deciduous trees usually have big, wide leaves like this, kind of like the maples and oaks in your neighborhood, whereas evergreen trees have needles. A lot of people don't think needles are leaves, but they are. They're specialized leaves. Evergreen, as their name suggests, means they keep their leaves all year long, even in the winter. And because of that, they have these special shapes so that when the snow gets on them, it'll shed right off and there won't be any problems with getting all bent over and messed up. So, yeah, as you go around your neighborhood, I'm sure you can find some evergreen trees. They're very common in our area. And this time of year, the deciduous trees don't have their leaves yet. So, if a tree is green, it's an evergreen right about now, a conifer. Um, so, some common evergreen trees that you might find in your neighborhood include this one. I'll hold it over here.
Gotcha.
That you can tell this one because it's the kind of evergreen that when you touch it, it hurts a little bit. The needles are stiff and pointy, and if you've ever had this kind of Christmas tree, they're a little hard to decorate. It's called a spruce tree. Yeah.
I learned a trick for this one.
Okay.
So if you squeeze it and it sticks you, it's a spruce. Hi. Hello. Um, our last video, we lost a connection. So we are going to start at the white pine again and go on from there. And I'll make sure to say that when I send out my announcements so you don't have to watch the end of the last video, which was all laggy and weird and the connection was breaking up. So back to the maestro, who's going to talk about the white pine.
So another really common tree, evergreen tree around here in New York State in northern New York is the white pine. I'm sure you can find this one in your neighborhood. They're the really tall evergreen trees. They're common at our playgrounds, so when we get back to school, they're easy to spot. But I bet you have them in your neighborhoods. White pines are kind of easy to tell when you look at the branches because the leaves grow in these groups. The needles aren't all over the stem like some of the other ones we were looking at. Here's a spruce. The needles are all over the stem, whereas this one, they're out on the end. And if you look closely, you'll see that the needles grow in clumps, in groups where they attach to the stem. And if you pull one of those clumps off, you'll see some of the needles are attached together. Attach onto the stem like that. Neat thing happens when you separate the needles out, you notice there are 5 needles in a clump. How do you spell white?
WHITE.
5 letters in white. 5 needles in a white pine clump. That's an easy way to remember the white pine. Now, if you go looking on the ground, you can find these clumps of needles. Sometimes they're brown after they fall off the tree. Typically, they'll be in groups of 5. Not always, but typically. White pine, one of my favorite trees. Another very common evergreen tree in our area is something called the hemlock, and it looks like this. Hemlocks are kind of easy to identify because they have really short needles, much shorter than the white pine. Right? And they're all over the branches. Each needle touches the branch, and they're all over. When you find a hemlock, they're usually greener on the top where it attaches to the tree than they are on the underside. Much brighter on top than underneath. Another really easy way to identify evergreen trees is by studying or looking at their pine cones. So I thought we'd do that, maybe look at some of pine cones that I've collected.
I'm going to do that on the table.
We're going to move.
I'm going to move you. Hang on. Hold on. Everybody okay? That's good. I'm going to tilt you down so you can see the table. I might have to back you up, actually. We have the table yet?
Nope, not yet.
How about now?
Not good.
How about now? Oh, we're so far away.
All right, I'm still here.
Okay,
Okay, that works.
the table's there then.
That works.
All right, I'll assistant.
Come on back.
Okay.
So I have lots of cool pine cones to show you. Hers a pretty big pine cone.
Whoa. Now
From
that's
a
a
tree
pine cone.
that's not from around here.
No, we don't have those.
Here's another pretty large pine cone.
Oof. We don't have those either, do
We
we?
don't have those. I'm going to talk about them. This one we do have. This pine cone is from the white pine. And it's one of the bigger pine cones in our area.
It's from our yard.
That is from our yard. Here's a spruce cone. And they get pretty big as well. You notice those are getting slightly smaller as we go down the line.
Did you put those in order?
You know me. I like things
You're an
in
organized
order.
Except for his office. It's not organized at all.
Cones are getting a little smaller.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He's a teeny guy. Is even smaller ones?
White card. Yeah, they're getting smaller.
You want to put them on a card so you
No,
can
up
see.
here so you can see.
Oh, so you can see them up here. I didn't understand.
Smaller, yeah.
Is there another one? Wow.
And last but not least,
Oh, I know this one.
this little guy.
I know what that one's from.
A lot of people think these are baby pine cones. These are not baby pine cones. That's a full-grown hemlock cone. So if you find a hemlock tree, you're going to find these teeny tiny pine cones on there.
Find those on our cars.
But they're fully grown. So here are 10 cones from 10 different pine trees, conifer trees. Neat thing about conifers is each species produces a different and unique kind of cone. But cones all have the same job. What do you think their job is? Well, these are giant seed holders. And these things here are called scales. And every pine cone, every type of pine cone has these scales. And when you see them in the springtime, they're all green and closed up. Behind each of those scales is a seed that's growing. When the pine cone's ready, the scales open up. And guess what happens to the seeds? Fall out on the ground. Hopefully become new trees. So this one's from a redwood tree. And that's actually kind of a small one for a redwood. From California. This one is from a sugar pine in Georgia. This one is a white pine. You can find these in your neighborhood. This is a spruce cone. You'll find these in your neighborhood too. Different kind of spruce trees. So there's different kind of cones. And then this little guy you'll definitely find as well. The hemlock. Yeah. Pine cones. Seed holders. Fun. When the seeds fall out, pine cones fall off the tree and they're just on the ground. So they're fun to collect. You can do arts and crafts with them. Do fun things with them.
We're going to do a project with them that I'll make a video about. We're going to make bird feeders with them and hang them back up in the trees. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video. I'm going to post some resources below these videos for you about the poem and about identifying conifers. Not this conifer, because you can identify her now. And
You sometimes eat pine cones.
you sometimes chew on pine cones, which is weird. She eats things that aren't food. She's kind of a dumb dummy. There's some activities that you can do about conifers, and you can paint pine trees with the famous Bob Ross. I put that video on there. And then there's a great song by They Might Be Giants called C is for Conifer, My Kind of Tree.
One of my favorite songs.
One of your favorite songs. I would love it if you learned that song. So I have that and for you. And I would love to see anything you do. Send it to me the way that you have been sending them to me. It's super to see your work and to see you, and I'll comment on it. and I'll send it back to you.
You should see if you could make a pine cone collection. Go around your neighborhood, take some pictures, and send us your pine cone pictures.
Yeah, do anything, any kind of arts and crafts with pine cones. Do some science with pine cones, and
I could try to sketch one, label it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing. Keep in touch, and we'll see you soon. I have to turn this off so I have to get close. I will see you soon. I'm on the ceiling. Oh no, I'm on the ceiling. Take care of yourselves. Do good.